so we have done some amazing things so far. We've got this table generated here that generates the student table, right? So we know each one of those is a block, which will format into this. So we're going to have to do two of these, remember, side by side, and then come on down the page. So we're going to close something out real quick. Big flash of white. Close that out. There we go. All right, and let's see. So first thing we're going to do now is we got this generate student data, right? And we're going to call this, well, this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Because we're going to have to loop twice, and then on the second one, we're going to have to output that data to a thing. So yes, let's, we're going to need a few things. So we're going to need a counter first, okay? So row equals 0. All right, and then row plus equals 1. Okay, so now we have this this row counter here. Now we need to generate a new function that will see if this is a even or odd number, because we want this to be printed in evens and odds. So we're going to need to generate, let's go to the top here. Let's close this out and define even or odd. Actually, let's not do that. Let's say is even, right? And then the number, which is an integer. Okay. Now, in Python, the way to do this is to use a modus, which is the divide. So we're going to basically say if number, %sign is actually a modus, equals 0, right? If it's divisible by 2, equals 0, then we're going to return true. Else, actually, we don't even need the else. Return false. There, very simple. Now, again, remember, this is not a division, okay? This is basically saying get the remainder, okay? Which, yes, is kind of division, but it's kind of not. Because I know you're probably thinking, well, 2 divided by 2 is 0, which is true, right? But 32 divided by 0, or divided by 2, is actually 16, right? So it's not a division. A division is this, okay? And some people like to do this, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I've kind of given them up, but for this one, we're going to use it. So this is going to simply say is even true or false. So down here, we're going to say we're going to need to keep track of a few things. We're going to need to keep track of this HTML. We're also going to need to keep track of these multiple rows. So I need to think of how I'm going to do that per se. Let's do, let's see. We'll call this the full HTML, okay? And it's going to be an empty string, all right? And we're going to have temp HTML equals an empty string as well. So we have basically these two placeholders. And here we're going to say student table equals that, okay? And now we'll say temp HTML equals, or plus equals, yes, plus equals temp HTML. So again, that's the same as saying temp HTML equals temp HTML plus temp HTML. So basically, we're doubling the data. But we're also going to add in that student table each time. All right. And by doing that, we're going to have a bunch of tables rolling down. And I'm going to show you that real quick. This save file here, this data is going to get changed to that. And we will run this program again. We need to get rid of this this print statement here. So we're going to get rid of it right there. We don't need it anymore. It's just junking up the data down here. So we're going to look at our HTML. And if you look, now we have all of our HTML over and over and over again, right? Now, here's something interesting that I've noticed. We have it twice. Why do we have it twice? Oh, that's right. It's just continually adding. That makes total sense, because at the bottom is actually what we're going to be seeing. So it'll be these. So now what we need to do is we need to say, let's see. This is going to take a moment. My brain is not working today. If temp HTML, I'm sorry, if the row counter is even, the row, okay, if it's even, then we're going to say HTML plus equals full HTML plus the temp HTML, okay? Else, temp HTML equals that, okay? So what we're doing is we're basically going to be grabbing, if it's a divisible by 2, then we're taking this temporary HTML here. You know what? Let's do this here and get rid of that else. There, that will probably be more correct. So we're taking the temporary HTML, and sometimes you have to speak these things out. So for the first row, right, it's not even, and temporary HTML is empty. Okay, so we're going to take empty plus empty equals this new student table that we just generated. It's then going to roll through again, and the row number will be 2. All right, and then it's going to take the temporary HTML, which is the student table, and then add the new one to it. So we have 2 student tables side by side, and then because it's an even number, it's going to put that into full HTML. All right, and then we're going to say temp HTML equals nothing again. So we wipe the temporary HTML, because each time this temporary HTML is actually like a row, okay? And then we're going to save the full HTML this time, and let's see how that looks. It should look significantly different. And it does. So we have 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. That is jacked up, is what that is. Yep, that's doing double again. That's weird. Why is it doing that? And I'm sure I'm going to have an aha moment and be like, oh, you idiot. So, oh. Well, the student data table, the first time is going to be, in this case, the Mackenzie, the 1, and then when we run through again, it looks like we're getting the same one twice, doesn't it? Here and here. Maybe because the first row. Let's put the row down here, and our row is always number 1. Let's try that and see if that maybe fixes part of it. It does not. It does not at all. Nope, it doesn't. So I wonder why that's happening. You know what? Let's do this differently. Let's definitely do this differently. Let's do a list. And so we're going to change that temporary HTML to be a list. Okay. And instead of adding, we're going to simply say dot append. And we're going to append the student table, right? And we will comment all this out for right now. and we're going to say grab this temporary data and put it there. And yes, you can write a list straight to it. It'll just look kind of weird at first. Oh, no, it's going to complain because it's got to be a string, not a list. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. So let's just say full HTML equals .join temp HTML. So I've just introduced a new keyword for you of join. So join basically is the opposite of split. So split, you're dividing or you're separating based on a delimiter. With join, you're defining the delimiter, which in this case, we're adding them with nothing in between. You could put spaces in between if you wanted, or you could put dashes, right? But what is the glue that holds all of the pieces together? And remember, this temporary HTML is actually a list of items. So, you know what? Because it's a list, I have an idea. Let's take all of this and come in one. And how did I do that so quickly, you may ask? Shift tab. So tab goes one way, shift tab goes backwards. Okay. So we're going to run through, I bet you that's what it is. Yeah, we're going to run through all of these. And yes, I talk to myself when I code, even when I'm not recording. So temporary table, basically we're going to keep generating these over and over and over again and make it into a giant list. And then for each item in the list, we're going to add them together, joining them together as one big string with nothing in between. Okay, and then this full HTML, we're going to save. That row, we're going to have to put back up here. Okay, and this row, we're going to change back to 0 so that it starts at 0, and then we immediately add 1 to it. And let us see what happens now. There we go. I told you that was it. So now we're running through it once. We're joining them together as one big thing. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have to loop through our list of tables, these tables here. And the reason I say that is if you put these a little bit bigger, see how it does that weirdness? We're going to need to fix that. Let me look at the source code real quick on this and see. Yeah, so that table width of 100%, we're going to change that to 50%. And we can do that up here with our generate student table. Okay. And that right there is going to be 50%. Okay, close that out. We don't need this anymore. We're just doing that manually. So now we're going to run our program again. And we're going to look at our HTML. And now we see it's a little bit better, right? We have it using 50% for each one. But now we need tables beside each other, right? So we're going to put this table inside another table. Isn't that fun? It's Inception. If you've not seen the movie, you won't get the joke. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to say need to count, right? So we need to, how would I do this? I'm going to pause the video while I ponder. Okay, I've made a decision. We're going to throw Bootstrap at this. Bootstrap is an amazing product. There's no reason not to use it, which means we will need to create that generate HTML function. So we're going to use Bootstrap. And in order to do that, we're going to need to grab some things. And this is going to be a little bit more robust of a program. But honestly, I don't feel like doing a ton of CSS on the fly. I could. It would be fine. But I would rather just go ahead and let's just throw Bootstrap at it and it'll be fine. Bootstrap is a wonderful thing. You can get it from getbootstrap.com. We're going to now generate a new file. Okay. We're going to, let's see, Git Bootstrap. And we're going to just download a file. And the URL in this case, actually no, we don't need to. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. We can have it do it automatically. So we're going to need to generate this HTML here. Okay, so we're going to say generate HTML. All right, and then we're going to need student data as a list, right? And we're going to grab some of this stuff from down here. This part right here in particular, we're going to cut it, and we're going to paste it up here for now. And we're going to get rid of that. Well, no, we're going to leave it. I'm sorry. Someone already deleted it, and they're like, man, make up your mind. Anyway, so we're at 15 minutes. We're getting there, though. So HTML equals nothing, right? And we're going to say HTML, and we're going to say this is not a good idea. Let's use that triple thing that we did earlier. Triple there, so now we can format it correctly and have it look pretty. All right. This isn't going to be the most standards compliant HTML I don't have all day. So if you go to getbootstrap.com and go to documentation, there's an introduction on getting started, and there's a quick start where you can actually just copy and paste this CSS and this JavaScript. So we're going to copy that, paste it here. We're going to press enter there, put in that slash. Is it a slash or is that slash? Oh, it's fine because it's all inside of the quote anyway, so we're fine. You can break it up like that. HTML does not care. And then at the bottom of the HTML, you know what? I forgot we need, that's the head, the closing of the head, the body, close the body, and script. And go back to our HTML stuff here. We're going to copy this and just paste it in. We don't even need the script stuff there. So now we have a HTML page that has links to Bootstrap, and you know what? I'm okay with it being long. It looks cleaner to me. So that's all well and good. So we have our HTML. We'll now have Bootstrap pulled into it from the CDN, which they probably already have on their browser. And we're good to go. And we don't have to download any more files, which is awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to need to figure out what goes in here, right? And for that, I'm going to need to ponder again. Okay, I've done pondering. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to write some Bootstrap HTML, which is really fun. Class equals container div. PyCharm was not designed to write HTML, so it's a little weird. And then div class equals row. Close that div, and div class equals call 12. Nope, not 12. Sorry, 6 div. Okay, and we're going to need to put the first two pieces of student data into here in a way that will work. Let's see. How do we want to do this? Again, I'm going to ponder. Okay, so I figured out what we're going to do, and it's a little hacky. And I'm okay with that. I don't know if it's going to work the way I want, though. Poop. Let's see here. I'll need to do another loop up here and say for S in student data, right? And I need a row counter, of course. Row equals 0. And then row equals, or I'm sorry, plus equals 1. And a lot of people are like, why don't you just start with 1? And the reason is I want the row counter to be here and not at the end. That's why. It's literally just so that I know I haven't forgotten to increment. It's just a habit I picked up. And it won't go away. So, all right, so for each student data, remember this list is actually in HTML, okay? So if is even row, we can now say a temporary HTML equals empty. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to probably ponder again in a moment. Or I can just debug this on the fly and everyone laugh at me. I'm not sure which is better. Let's see. I'm going to ponder just for another second. Okay, I thought of it. We're going to give it a shot. We got rid of the is even, and honestly, I don't even think we need it anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply grab this here, and we're going to say row HTML equals, and again, it's going to be, 3 of those, and we're going to say that, okay. And since it's going to automatically divide by 6, or divide in half, now we can put in this this student, this S object, which is just simply HTML, right? It's that HTML we had up there. And then what we can do, since these are all together, right? We're going to join them together. This is going to be fun, I promise. Into that. Okay, and this will be student HTML. Okay, so what we're doing is we're generating this HTML here. Okay, so we're just going to generate over and over and over again. And all we're doing is basically surrounding the HTML that we already have with these columns, these div classes, to make them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But each of them will be 6. And Bootstrap works on the principle of 12 columns. So every 12 columns, it's going to break. So 2 6s will be 1 row, and then it will break into the next one, and 2 6s be a row, and it'll go in again. And so then we create all of that. We join all those together in the student HTML. And then here on this row, we're going to .format student HTML. Okay, and get rid of this stuff here. And HTML, we're going to change this to final HTML because we have lots of HTML all over the place. It's barfing all over the screen. And let's see how it rolls. It's not going to do anything because I'm not calling this function. I just realized that. Generate HTML needs to be called at the very last thing down here. And look at that. We already have a placeholder for it. And we need to pass all of our student stuff. So this temporary HTML stuff here needs to get passed up to it. Okay. And we don't even need this row counter. Honestly, we can get rid of that. And there we go. We hope anyway. Hope and pray. So we'll keep that open because I'm sure we'll come back to it. And we'll save. And let's run this program. Let's look at our HTML. Refresh. God, that looks horrible because it didn't do something right. So let's view the code here and see what happened. So we have this table inside our div 6, which is correct, but it looks like it didn't iterate over the rows. It only did the last one. Why is that? Let's go back up. I think I'm just answering my own question. The student HTML is joining together the HTML row, which is not being, okay, so it's not, yes, see? So HTML row is not a list. And this HTML row, we're just going to call a div HTML, right? And then we're going to say row HTML dot append that div HTML. Now, technically, you could put all of this inside this, but it's just better to break it up. So what we're doing now is we're creating another list, right? So we're taking this list, we're iterating over that list, and we're going to wrap this bit of HTML around whatever is in there. And then we're taking that data and we're dumping it into this temporary row, and it'll keep making another list of these over and over and over again. And then we're going to join all those together into this HTML, and then we're going to interject that in down here. Complicated, Inception-ish, but I think we may have figured it out. And if it didn't make sense to you, that's okay. I barely understood it myself. But look, now we have exactly what we wanted. We have the four side by side in a row, so we're doing much better now. On the next one, we're going to make these fit a little better. Okay, we're also going to make it 100% width. We're going to add some more HTML styling using Bootstrap. We're going to make some things bold. We're going to add in some line breaks. We're going to spread this out a little bit more. And yeah, it'll look much better. So now we're down to formatting, and it's much easier at this point. All right, I know that last bit was a bit tricky with the whole nesting of nestings. If you look at the HTML here, you'll see how it works, right? So this table's 50%, and we can get rid of that actually, and we will. Let's go ahead and do that while we're thinking about it. So let's go back to my code here, and we're going to go back to that generation of the student table, right? And we're going to get rid of this width, okay? And here we're going to say class, whoops. That's when you know you're used to code completion. Table, right? And then when we run our program again, it will hopefully look a little bit better. That's much better. We'll fix these lines and stuff, but we're getting there, right? It looks much better now. We have better formatting and whatnot. We'll get rid of the borderless. We'll add a borderless class. I think it's borderless, if I'm not mistaken. Bootstrap borderless table, and jump to borderless table, and you simply say table borderless, which I was correct. It's just been a while. So you simply say table borderless. We'll run our program again and come back to our HTML. There we go. So much better spacing and whatnot. Let's also add a little bit more. Let's go back to our code. And in here, we're going to close out that one. We don't need it anymore. But here, that's going to be an issue. You know what? It's fine. It probably won't be fine. My wife will probably say it's not fine. But I think it's going to be fine. This we got to make bold and we got to make bigger, is what I've been instructed to do by the client, as they say. So we need to go back to our student table here, and this pass, we need to add a span. Actually, no, we're not going to do a span. We're going to do it right here. We're going to say class equals, and boy, I'm running on that 30-minute mark, aren't I? Class equals bold, I think is what it is. You know what? We're not even going to do classes. Let's just do this style. I'll just type it manually. Font weight is going to be 700. Font size equals 1.5 EM. And let's run it again and see what happens. Much better. Yeah, much better indeed. I think we're actually done. So, video ran over by a few seconds. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Share amongst your friends. And yeah, next we're going to be adding some more people so we can get that done there. And I think we're actually going to be done with this program, at least for me recording it. I might edit some more later on, but they won't really be applicable to you guys learning. So next program we're going to be doing probably will be a automation script to automate some things so you can learn how to do system calls and read from files again, and I'll teach you some more in-depth things.